before we had Quadrant in Halo Infinite, and before we had Infused in Halo 5, we had to have the first European professional Halo team. And that team, Power Gaming. Comprised at the time was 4 young and up-and-coming talents in Reaction, Baxter, and the legendary twins, Buk20 and Buk57. Before Power was formed, the new kids on the block for Halo 3 was a group of young and talented players comprised of the Buk Twins, MVP, and Cons. They were known as Crack Clan. Due to other commitments, Cons had to sit their first event out of I-37. And this was when they picked up another player who was also young, talented, and a well-known trash talker in the community, Baxter. As they announced they were going to use Baxter as a stand-in for Crack Clan's first LAN, other top teams believed this pickup was a mistake, as Baxter up to this point hadn't even broke top 12 in an event, as prior to the event, Crack Clan was predicted to place first at I-37.
Before this event, right, Dignitas were rubbing their hands together, and this is back in the day of like the forum, and they're saying any chance they had of winning is now gone, evaporated, blah, 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 because they picked me up, right? And I'm sitting there thinking, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Crack Clan went on to win that event, beating out their rivals Dignitas in the finals, and other top teams such as SK and Infused. Despite winning the event, Crack Clan would go on to pick up Cons again, forcing Bax to look at other options, landing on Reaction, Ziknex, and Fragtail. This team would have played under SK Gaming.
We all wanted to go to Major League Gaming event at some point that year, and it's all leading up to it, and it's like, then for one reason or another, MVP and Cons were like, oh, we're going to go team with Fragtail and Ziknex, I think it was.
Ziknex and Fragtail would leave Baxter and Reaction and join half of Crack Clan, MVP and Cons, with the promise of SK Gaming giving them the opportunity to compete at MLG Anaheim, wanting to make what they thought was the best team possible. By doing this, they would unintentionally make the best team possible by forcing the 2 leftovers to join forces and quite literally creating Europe's first Halo Pro team, Power Gaming. Power Gaming's first event together would ironically be MLG Anaheim 2009, while SK were unable to attend. This MLG event will be a big deal to the European Halo scene, as in the past we had sent Halo 2 players overseas and we were unable to perform to a well enough standard.
Because we had the Halo 3 forum and then we had the MLG forum, and on the MLG forum we would go on and we post, because you get like the team seeds and predictions. And when we were added to the team seeds and predictions, we were slandered. What's the point in coming? Do you know what I mean? And a few people had played us in matchmaking, but that was about it.
To add to the pressure, these were 15, 16-year-old kids who have barely been to more than a few LANs, and some have never really been more than 3 hours outside of their hometown, let alone a different country to compete. The odds were stacked against them. As Power was an international team, they had last seed, which put them up against Team Active Rush in the open bracket in round 2. To add to this, Active Rush had previously placed 13th at the last MLG event, as well as this series was meant to be played on split screen. Power Gaming lost 3-0, which sent them to the losers bracket really early on. It was not looking good for Europe.
Soon, we just knew we just wanted to get free split screen. We knew as soon as we get off split screen, it will be much better because no one practiced it. Like even me and Will didn't practice it much ourselves, despite being in the same house. But it was a nightmare, and I feel like I'm so glad that we're kind of beyond those days now.
Power would go on to smash and trash talk their way through the losers bracket and make it to champ bracket. Of course, with Bax's trash talk, there were obviously some people who couldn't handle it too well. Power went on to place 19th out of 256 teams, breaking 2 MLG records. Highest placing team with last seed, and highest placing international team. This landed themselves the pro status, and upsetting the team they lost to earlier, Team Active Rush, and barely missing out on top 16 to take respect, losing a Game 5. Power Gaming would come back to Europe as heroes, but not without bringing any drama with them. Power Gaming had yet to beat SK Gaming on LAN. There were talks about how SK would have placed top 16 while Power could only get the 19th spot, so in both teams' eyes there was unfinished business. Luckily, not so long after Anaheim, Insomnia 38 rolled around, and this was it. SK and Power finally had a chance to meet in the finals.
One more. Red team, what's up? Come on, let's come on! See that? Power Gaming. Remember the name. King of Heretic, Connor? Nah, mate, sorry, not happening. But yeah, my man. No, sorry, mine with them 19 assists. Let's go! It's mine! All mine! That's what you let.
After beating SK, Power Gaming would set their eyes on MLG Orlando 2009. They've had plenty of time to practice, and they were not the new kids on the block anymore. They've had multiple LANs under their belt, and they knew what it was like playing at the top, and they were hungry to beat their last placement of 19th. Riding off the success of Anaheim, they had earned enough respect from top team at the time, Straight Rippin', and were fortunate enough to actually get invited to go to the Straight Rippin' gaming house for a boot camp, or a pre-LAN as it was called back then.
I can't actually remember how it came about. I think we basically I think it was either we posted on the pro forums, because we had access to the MLG pro team forums because we were pro players by then. We're either posted on the MLG forums back then or at the time, or we just said we're coming out early to America because we knew from previous events coming out early is such a big deal in terms of jet lag and preparation, and being able to play on LAN in America against any team, whether they're the best in the world or kind of half decent, was useful. So we literally just got, I think we got told there's a spare day in our diary to come where Straight's going to be there and maybe another team in the Straight Everything house, and if you're in the area, come and play. And we literally turned up at some random house in the middle of not middle of nowhere, but obviously in this big in America, some random house where they were still staying, and they've obviously been landing for a couple of days, and they're yeah, you guys can come in and jump on and play against us. And I think at the time Snipe Down was in his prime, and I can't believe he's still playing competitively even nowadays. But it's we never even though we played against pro teams and good teams all the time, playing them on LAN and when they're really comfortable, some matches were really close and other matches we got destroyed. And I think it was just a good reality check in terms of, even though we were one of the best teams in Europe, there was still a massive gap. Even just in terms of the movement and spawns and teamwork, and yeah, sometimes it's almost you had to watch stuff back in theatre to just be what the hell just went on? How did that happen? I'm pretty sure we got spawn killed by Snipe Down at least twice or three times in Narrow's CTF.
In the end, for Orlando 2009, Power Gaming ended up placing 17th, which is still an improvement to the 19th place, but couldn't break into the top 16 spot. Fnatic, previously SK, would go on to place top 24 at that event too, settling the debate SK would outplace Power at an American event. But then, the unthinkable happened. Arguably one of the biggest team changes in EU Halo history, Baxter will later go on to leave Power Gaming to start rival team, the new and improved Fnatic. Baxter believed it was time to mix things up, as well as ideologies within Power's management just didn't line up.
There was another interview somewhere where I got fined for it, and I said they're just a credit, I said they're like a fish with a credit card. They don't think about what they spend. They just sit in a little tub all day, and they don't do anything that demands more of the profile of European Halo or the players. It's just one of the reasons I wanted to play for Fnatic. I know Fnatic were an org that were huge in other esports, and I saw that as my chance to try and it was going nowhere. And then they were they're gonna start paying their players £200 a month, but it was for nothing. It didn't make sense to me.
In an article of an interview Baxter had, though has been translated for French Halo forum halo.fr, where he claimed he couldn't rely on his team anymore, and making the statement he was irreplaceable, and I quote, "I am Walshy." Power Gaming would then continue their legacy and picked up Scottish legend and ex-teammate of the Buck Twins, MVP. Once again, Power had a new team, and they would throw themselves into the deep end by playing their first event together overseas at MLG Combine, Nashville 2010.
We went into that event thinking we were going to win it. We knew there'll be good amateur teams in it, but also we knew that we were strong enough as a team, based on with Baxter as well, that we could have done well. It was interesting to see Ryan Noob and Blaze and Jeriwaki and DeBay, like, and even Ashes and Piggy and those guys, like, I feel like we underestimated them, and they were really good. Like, I think Adrenaline Rush went on to doing well in the pro bracket and in the next event, because they kind of showed us, okay, these guys are pretty good. Like, it wasn't just like we just got destroyed by a random amateur team or anybody below top 16 played in the combine, and we came third in that with MVP.
Soon after MLG Orlando 2010, after all the practice and after the combine, Power would actually sadly end up getting their worst placement of 21st at the time. Rumors had started to spread on the forums that they had made a mistake allowing Baxter to leave and start a rival team, and how the age of Power was over. Or was it? After a few months in July, we had our first European event where the two teams would end up meeting in the finals at ECL Liverpool in 2010. Once again, Power reigned supreme in Europe, but that wasn't enough. The players were not done yet, as they had set their eyes once again on the North American scene. Next up, MLG Raleigh 2010. This event was different. They had enough seeding points to go straight into champ bracket, which is a guaranteed top 32, instead of leaving it up to chance in the open bracket. They would get an easy first round of a 3-0 against Living the Dream, which would place them on to top 16, beating their previous highest placement. But Power Gaming was not done yet. Next up, they were up against 4-seeded Straight Rippin'.
I thought maybe they were just...
I think they're just saying that.
Go one more.
One more then.
One more. That's it.
Well. Oh, okay.
Nice bracket addiction. Yeah, nice bracket prediction pocket.
Alright, on the main stage, UOR Dynasty versus Heaven and Earth. On the Old Spice feature station, Power versus Triggers Down.
We still knew, like, despite them being a bit of a hybrid team or a bit of a mismatch of a team, like, they were going to be good. But literally from game one, I felt like we were just really confident and like really calm around what we did. Like, I felt like it's probably one of the calmest games we played in terms of comms.
From their training.
I'm just going to say this there.
Custom. What time's custom?
47.
Power had done it. They have both placed top 12 as well as beat the legendary Straight Rippin'. Power secured a 3-0 against Straight Rippin', which is the highest placement at that time for a European team of top 12. This record would last for another 6 years when it was beaten again in Halo 5 by none other than the Buk20 themselves. Soon after the event, Halo Reach will be released, and the game change caused Reaction to leave, and MVP went on to join a different team as well. The owners of Power Gaming would leave the organization behind to pursue different things within esports, ending the legendary run of Power Gaming. In the end, Power Gaming were the first team to show that international teams deserve to and can compete at the highest level. Power's record may have been broken multiple times now, but I believe their legacy has had an impact on international Halo even to this day, and their story deserves to be remembered. What do you think? Is the reason we have international teams being flown out to America because of Power Gaming? Have you even heard of Power Gaming prior to this video? Let me know in the comments. It would mean the world if you could leave a like on this video, as well as a sub if you haven't already. Thank you so much for sticking by this long. This is my biggest project yet, as half the footage of Power is either lost or the most difficult thing to find, so thank you for watching, and peace.